welcome to the podcast, Neal. I hope you're enjoying your time with the social media marvels.
Thank you so much, Jagrudi. It's an honor to be featured as part of all the great people that you're interviewing.
Thank you so much. So, the topic this week that we might be discussing is going to be influencer marketing. So, I've read it a million times over that influencer marketing is on a roll. The ROI is like 85%. There's going to be a lot of investment in terms of influencer marketing. A lot of businesses are using that. And what are your thoughts about influencer marketing? Because your next book is also going to be about that.
Yeah, I think that if you're already doing it, it makes sense, and there's still a lot of companies that aren't doing it or haven't seen the ROI. So let's take a step back and just ignore all that data that you see. And there's lots of studies that have been made that say, hey, you spend $1 in influencer marketing, you're going to make $6.50. You're going to make $11, right?
Yeah.
If we take a step back and realize in digital marketing, right, there's a lot of different things we can do. Obviously, social media marketing has been on the rise, and it's something that companies invest more and more in. The problem, though, is that organically in social media, as we all know, it's just harder to be heard. It's harder for a message to be seen in the news feeds of our fans. It's harder to grow a larger community. And this is why, obviously, budgets have started to go more into paid social, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, what have you. But obviously people tune out advertisements as well, and they see a sponsored ad as being just that, a sponsored ad. On the other hand, you have people that have grown to have larger followings in social media and that have become influential. Obviously, we've seen it the most on platforms like YouTube or Instagram, but it can happen really on any platform. And I'm not talking about just people with 1 million followers. I'm talking about someone that has 1,000 followers that might get 100 or 200 engagements, where your business page on Instagram has 10,000 followers and maybe you only get 50 engagements per post. So really, with the way the algorithms work, it's skewed towards people. And we're now at a point with what I like to call the democratization of media influence. We're influenced by lots of different people these days. And when you look at Instagram, not every big business is there. So a lot of things that influence us don't come from business at all. It comes from a lot of people, or maybe from startups. So, that's just the Instagram example. I could say the same thing about B2B. I could say the same thing about blogs. And, in some way, companies have already been doing influencer marketing without knowing it. In my book, I have a complete chapter on the 15 different types of influence marketing campaigns. Something like affiliate marketing, right? Something like inviting someone. This is a form of influencer marketing, right? That you're inviting me in hopes that when we publish this, that I'll be sharing this with my audience. And this is, you're tapping into the audience of other people. So if you think about it that way, it becomes very natural. I like to say that in digital media, influencers are the new media. So if you want to get coverage for your event, if you want to get coverage for your new product, whatever it is, you'll want to have a relationship with people who have the ear of your audience. So it is becoming more of a mainstream type of marketing or mainstream type of marketing components. I like to say there are 6 different types of mainstream, digital marketing components. And I like to say that within digital, obviously we have social, but obviously you start with your website or mobile. You have that, that's a no-brainer, right? You also then, because you have a website, you want to be seen on Google. You have SEO, search engine marketing. That's not going away. Email marketing is not going away. You have marketing automation, and then you have blogs, content marketing, and then you have social media, whether it's organic or paid, and then you have influencer, right? Because you're tapping into other people. It's a significantly different type, but I think it's equally important when I look at all those 6 different types. I do see that as a 6th type. And I would also say, my definition of an influencer is anybody outside of your branded account that can help incite word of mouth for your business. So this also, it doesn't just include people you don't know that we like to refer to as influencers, but it also refers to your employees. It also refers to your customers, your fans, your partners, your resellers, your distributors, any other entity that can help you. And when you think about it that way, that everybody has influence, even your employees. In the United States here, millennials are now a majority of the workforce, and they're obviously digital natives. So, anybody can hold influence, and tapping into those people and creating relationships in a program is what really is going to provide companies greater ROI going forward. So even if you don't believe those stats, I think when you think about it that way, it just makes a lot of sense. The problem for marketers is it's very different. It's not about investing in a tool like Social Pilot and then creating content and then publishing and then waiting for engagement. It doesn't work that way. It takes a very, very different mindset. But in engaging with other people about your brand, you learn a lot about your company as well. You learn a lot about how other people think about your products. You make new friends. It's a great process once you start doing it, and once you start doing it the right way. So I'm sure we'll get into this, but I think most companies have just looked at influence marketing as we'll just give a freebie out to somebody, or we'll go to a marketplace and find people that for a $50 Amazon gift card will do this for us, and that may be part of it, but I'm talking about something that's a lot bigger than just one-time transactional relationships with certain people. So I believe that, and I've written about this, influence marketing. It's really about community, building a large community of people that are going to talk about your brand. And there's a lot of different ways to do that, but that is my definition. The long story short, that's sort of my definition about influencer marketing. And when you think about it that way, you can see why it has very, very broad appeal, and more businesses are jumping on the bandwagon.
True. So like you mentioned, I really like the thing that you said affiliate marketing is a form of influencer marketing. Like it's a subset of influencer marketing. But there are some people who use it interchangeably. So what do you think is the basic difference between influencer marketing as a whole and affiliate marketing?
Well, affiliate marketing is a type of influencer marketing because you are asking people to basically promote your product, right? And obviously there is a transactional relationship that says, hey, if you sell my product, I am going to give you a commission.
Yep.
So I think that in the past, affiliate marketing has been, hey, pretty much anybody who signs up, we're going to give them a link and help them sell our product. But really, I want you to think, I believe in the age of influencer marketing, I want you to think about affiliates as influencers and really maybe start to vet those people, maybe start to create more one-to-one relationships, maybe start to tier those affiliate marketing commissions that say, if we find that this person is really, really influential, we see it based on the traffic they provide us, we're going to give them a greater commission. We're going to go above and beyond this affiliate relationship and see how, other ways we might be able to work with this person. So it's really, I think that companies that have done affiliate marketing really well are probably already doing what I just said, but it's a mindset shift. The same thing with employee advocacy, right, which is a term that's been around for almost a decade. No, treat employees as influencers, treat affiliates as influencers, and don't limit it to just that. And then I think you begin to see, I think that's really the main difference between traditional affiliate marketing and the way it could be as part of an influence marketing program. And I mean, it also, not everybody's in it for the money. Right?
True.
Not everybody wants to do affiliate marketing is the other thing. So just by doing that, you're only reaching a limited subset of people, and they may not be the highest quality because they're doing affiliate marketing for 10 of your competitors as well, right? So a lot of things to consider, but this is the conversation I want you to think about when you think about influence marketing for your brand. How are you going to engage? What are the different ways in which you can incentivize influencers to begin working with your company?
Yeah, that is actually true. I mean, so like you said, influencer marketing is about building a community. So I was just thinking, with influencers, in my opinion, you need to build a relation with one person, like the influencer himself, because he or she has an influence over a community. So once you start building a relation, or you have a long-lasting relationship with one influencer, you also automatically by default reach his or her community. But so should small and medium businesses first create their own niche community and then reach out to an influencer, or directly target an influencer's community, which he's gotten handheld by just building it with one person?
Yeah, there is a cosmetics company called Lush, and in the UK, they just recently announced that they were going to stop doing organic social altogether. They were just going to let people in social media talk on their behalf, which I thought was a pretty brave move.
True.
But that goes to your question: should we build our own? Should we just forget about organic social and just work with influencers? My answer is, and I actually have a chapter about this in my book as well, is that the more influence or the more perceived influence your brand has, the more influencers want to work with you.
Yep.
An influencer wants to work with a Coca-Cola, right? so that they can say they've worked with a Coca-Cola, right? This
Yeah.
is how influential they are. So you want to build your own community, obviously. And the bigger and more influential your community is, the easier it's going to be for you to work with influencers. Let's say you reach out to me and you don't even have an pick a channel. It could be Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever. I like to use Instagram because right now, 80% of influence marketing budget is said to be going into Instagram. So you reach out to me on Instagram. Well, first of all, you need to have an Instagram account to send me a DM. But let's say you send me an email, right? And by the way, we don't have an Instagram account, but we'd love for you to, promote it. Well, I would want to tag you in my posts to make it easy for people to find out about you, for instance.
Yeah.
So if you're not on the platform, if you don't have a community, you're hidden. So on the flip side, let's say you already have like 15,000 followers. I may have never heard about this company, but they're a legit company.
Yeah.
They have their own community. It's just, it becomes a very, very different paradigm. Let's say you only have like 10 followers. I'm going to be low there. I don't know if I want to work with this company, right?
Yeah.
So yes, you still need to have at a minimum, a organic presence. And I think, like I said, the more influential that is, the better. And I think that, it's also, it might be considered a best practice when influencers talk about you to reshare their content to your audience as well. Because when people see it's coming from a person, even though they may know that it's sponsored, it's still real. It's still coming from a person, not from a brand. The way that people perceive it is just very, very different.
True.
So for those reasons, yes, I do recommend that you have an organic presence. But their organic presence, is really going to be for your avid fan. It might be part of sort of customer experience marketing. I think that over time, organic social is going to take on a very, very different presence than what we see now. More about, like I said, the experience than just pure promotion that we tend to see a lot these days.
Yeah, true. So if you had a unique tactic which you could suggest our viewers about to outreach influencers in their niche.
Wow. There's a lot of different ways about doing it, but I would start with your own fans, right? When people engage, when people follow back or leave a comment or a like, I would literally go through and try to find people that seem influential. Now, in Instagram especially, we have these tiers, celebrity, macro, influencer, middle, micro. But anybody with over 500 followers, in the Instagram world, I think Twitter is going to be a little bit different, but anybody that has a few hundred followers, you go to their profile, they're publishing content that is, relevant to your business. They are already getting engagement. So it looks like they have a community, they're relevant, and it seems that they have, somewhat influence. Reach out to them and say, we appreciate you being a fan. How can we collaborate together? Can we, send you free product? Can we invite you to our event? Can, whatever it is, will you try out our tool? Can we interview you? I think that's a really easy way to get started because you're working with someone that already has brand affinity for you.
Yep.
And if you're not a well-known entity and you reach out to famous influencers, they may not give you the time of day. But these people, because they already, follow you and like you, it's going to be easy to get started. And you're going to have to get experience of having to, reach out to people and begin to work with them and collaborate with them. So that would be, I think it is somewhat of a unique tactic because most businesses just immediately will go and try to, talk to people that don't know anything about their company. And it turns into becoming a very, very expensive proposition and very few might convert. This way you're going to have higher conversion, you're going to be able to talk to more people and really gain that experience in building relationships with people and figuring out how to drive ROI with those, right? What is that collaboration going to look like? Are they going to post and are you going to send them product, and if they like it, they're going to post about you? Are you going to create some sort of program where, I would actually invest in a photographer and bring together these people for an event, like a photo event, and take loads of photos and let them share them and have some for you. There's a lot of different creative ways you can do this, right?
Yep.
But those are the things I want businesses to start thinking about and start with the people that already know you. That like I said, do some searching, and that's the problem is, people look for the tool that's going to do all this for you. It really doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So, just spend 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, or just spend a day and really try to identify those people, 10, 25, 50, I don't know. And hey, how can I help you, right? This is my business, what do you do? Maybe they're like, hey, can you link to my blog? and that's enough. I mean, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's different, and that's the whole thing. It's people, it's people power, but everybody's different. So just don't go, hey, well, we'll give you a 30-day free trial or $10 gift card. Try to, let the conversation decide what is the best way to work together, and it may not even involve money, right? We don't know.
Yeah, that is true. So your LinkedIn bio said you have close ties with Japan, and you've been to around 4 continents to speak across various events. So, and you're also fluent in Japanese and Mandarin and Chinese. So why the affinity towards Asia?
Hey, I didn't expect you were going to ask me that. So I grew up, we live in such a multicultural, international, society now. I live in a city where my children go to elementary school where in their class there might not be any Caucasian. My wife is Japanese, so my children are mixed, right? And I think in my son's elementary school class of 32, I don't think there's one Caucasian. There are a few like my son who are mixed, but it's Chinese, it's Middle Eastern, it's Indian. It's a beautiful world we live in, right? So that's today. When I was growing up, I lived in a community where about 30% of the people in my high school were international, and most of my friends in high school were Asian, primarily East Asian, Chinese American, Korean American, Japanese American. So I was already going to birthday parties in high school where I was the only Caucasian.
Okay.
So when I went to university, I said, I'm going to learn, and they were mainly Chinese. So I'm going to learn Chinese, and I'm going to do my junior year abroad in China. And I did that, right? And that's how I learned the Chinese. And then in China, my roommate was Japanese, and I made tons of friends with Japanese studying in China, and we all spoke Chinese to each other. But it was after that I spent my senior year learning Japanese, and then after I graduated, I went straight out to Japan, where there were more opportunities for me in China at the time. And so, yeah, that's where, and I lived in Japan 15 years, and that's where I met my wife and what have you. So, when I look at all the, the top 100 social media influencers, what have you, none of them speak Japanese, obviously. So, I said, I really got to leverage this aspect. So I started, I used to go back for family when our kids were babies, go back and see the grandparents. I said, I'm going to invest some time. I'm going to go to Tokyo because my wife's family's from Osaka. I'm going to go to Tokyo and I'm going to network with other people in the industry. So I used LinkedIn, and I found people that were involved in social media. And just from networking, I was able to plug myself into, the social media marketers, the marketers, the doers in Tokyo. Okay. And I've maintained those relationships. And it's come to the point where I started to develop actual business from those relationships. I get introduced to companies, what have you. So now I go quarterly to Japan. I have retainer clients, and it's a great market. And I really consider myself an educator about everything else, whether I'm consulting or speaking or even my agency. It's really about educating companies on what they can be doing. And if they need my help, great. If not, if you want to do it yourself, that's awesome. But there's tremendous potential in Japan because, believe it or not, they're really far behind when it comes to marketing. They're really far behind on digital and social. True. So especially B2B. So there's just tons of opportunities for me there, and I love the culture, the people. It's a lot of fun. So I'll be out there 2 weeks from now, my next quarterly visit.
That's nice. So like the last 2 books that you've written were basically about social media in general and how they drive your marketing strategy or they drive your sales. Then you jumped into the business of influence, which is really niche, targeted, and it just covers influencer marketing. So what inspired you to write that?
Well, so my first 2 books were more about LinkedIn. My most recent book was Maximize Your Social, about social media strategy. So I wrote my first book. I think if you look at the history, my first book, I wasn't doing any business regarding social media. It was still very early. It was more about online networking using LinkedIn. The book after that, after I started getting business, was my first, what I would consider social media for business book, called Maximizing LinkedIn for Sales and Social Media Marketing. Basically talking about social selling and B2B social media marketing way before it was mainstream, right? Yep. This was like 8 years ago. So in 2013, I wrote Maximize Your Social because the number one question I was getting asked from clients when I spoke was all about social media strategy and social media ROI. So I said, okay, I'm going to write the book, and I, things come up. And over the last few years, the number one questions I now start getting are about influencer marketing. In fact, I get an equal number of questions from marketers about how do I become more influential in my industry, right? How do I become that YouTuber, that Instagrammer that makes a lot of money, right? I mean, there are people that are making millions of dollars as influencers here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I realized that there really wasn't a good book written recently about this trend that we see. And as I began doing my research, I realized that yes, it is a major component. It should become a major component of marketing mix. And there are companies like startups that just focus on a certain demographic on Instagram, where it might be 100% of their marketing is just all on influencers, right? So that's where I realized that there was a gap. Just like 6 years ago with Maximize Your Social, there is a gap in a fundamental understanding of influence marketing and what it can do for businesses. And there wasn't a playbook that existed either. So I said, I'm going to write the book, and here we are today. So yes, I agree. I think that you could see it as niche. I see it as something that should become very mainstream. So to me, it represents sort of, just as Maximize Your Social represented, best practices in social media marketing at that time, I feel that the age of influence, what the book is going to be called, represents the way companies should be thinking today, because they've already been doing social media for a decade, right? You're already doing organic, you're already doing paid. Yeah. You probably haven't been doing as much with influencers as you could be, yeah. Or maybe you've done it on and off and really haven't done it strategic. So yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I think that influencer marketing has its ups and downs, and companies have been burned. Some companies have. They're not working with the right influencers, right? Sure. So it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It may not even require money at all, but you need to tap yourself into people that influence the customers you want to reach, and you need to create collaborative relationships. And, the longer I'm in social media and social media marketing, the more I realize that social media is really an amazing place for collaboration. Yeah. So I'm even letting my influencer marketing book influence the way that I consult and work with companies on social media. Hey, this is a collaboration platform. How do we collaborate with people more? Yeah. Right? And maybe that's an easier way for companies to actually get into influencer marketing. It's like, yeah, you're spending all this time creating this content. It's not getting much reach. It's not getting much engagement. Why don't we try to find a way that we can actually leverage user-generated content, which obviously is, curating the content of influencers is another type of influencer marketing. It's probably the easiest type of influencer marketing to get into. So there's a lot of different angles here, and it all, to me, it's all summed up as influencer marketing, but it is a new way of helping businesses and a new way for businesses to really maintain relevance in social media today in 2019.
Yeah. So, but like you said, on Instagram, we have different levels of influencers, whether like celebrity influencers or major influencers, micro influencers. So, with SMBs, do you think that the SMBs choose to work with micro influencers because they're easier to reach out, or they're more eager to collaborate with? Or do they think that the celebrities are untouchable, or they're like way too up high the ladder that they won't even give us any attention?
Well, I mean, it depends on the company. I mean, is there a celebrity that is talking about something that's relevant to your company? I don't know, especially if you're a B2B. Yeah. There's a lot of fake followers, fake engagement that still goes on today. So I think another reason why more and more brands are gravitating toward the micro or even the nano influencer is because chances are they haven't been out there buying fake followers, right? Sure. They don't have 100,000 followers. So if they wanted to buy fake followers, they could, they didn't. And that's, the feeling that the audience that they have is more authentic. They're authentic and they're more authentic in their engagement as well. So I think it's less about the number of followers and more about who is talking about people, or, who has a community of followers that should become your customers. Yeah. And if you can define that, you then want to see who are those people that there already are fans, they're already talking about us, right? There's already brand affinity. Those are the people I think you should begin with. So as you do that, how many followers they have, by all means reach out to them. But knowing that people that have a lot of followers, the people that have more perceived influence, are going to be more difficult to work with because everybody else is already contacting them. They may already be a brand ambassador for your competitor, and they've already been able to generate a lot of money doing this, right? So it might be very, very expensive, and then it's like, oh, I knew influencer marketing was a waste of time. So, if you're going to reach out to celebrities, for every celebrity you reach out to, you want to reach out to 10, 20, 50 micro-influencers.
Well, yeah, that's true. Because micro influencers are people like us. They're more responsive and engaging as well. They're the ones who know their audience well and are pretty much excited to collaborate. In terms of excitement, authenticity, or passion, micro influencers turn out to be true ambassadors of the company. Also, sometimes it's more important or necessary for someone outside of the company, somebody who's like a brand ambassador and not necessarily attached to the company directly, to speak on behalf of it.
Right? Let's, hire Neal Schaffer to write a blog post for us, because he's going to talk about us in the industry in ways that we can't.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, you're seeing more and more of that. And that is another type of, like I said, there's a lot of content centric aspects to influencer marketing. That is, leveraging UGC. That is a distinct type of influencer marketing. And maybe that's the easiest way for brands to get started. Don't think about influencers for amplification. Think about it as a way to complement your content creation process. And we definitely see more and more companies doing this. In fact, if you were to listen to a lot of interviews about, Instagram marketing especially, they'll talk about UGC. And when you leverage user-generated content from influencers, you're killing two birds with one stone.
True. So thank you so much for all the amazing insights on influence marketing. Is there a date set for Age of Influence, when it's going to release?
The tentative date is March 2020. It's just like with influencer marketing, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So it's taking some time, but the time that it takes is giving me a chance to really find all the case studies, see the industry mature. And, I think it's going to be the better quality for that. Obviously, you're already hearing a preview in this interview. But yeah, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, but it's going to be worth the wait.
That's great. So, and are you going to be speaking at any events in while you're in Japan? Or any
Yeah, I am going to be the next event in Japan. I'm not going to be speaking at an event. The next event I'm going to be speaking at is actually an event in Sweden at the end of August. So for anyone that's from Europe or that's in the Sweden, Norway area, I'm actually flying into Oslo. Feel free to reach out to me. Some fall events going on. I'll be in London. I teach in Dublin every year. So that'll be October. I'm hoping to get an event together in London at that time. So yeah, I always things going on. So, go to my website, sign up to my email list. You will get notifications of those. But yeah, writing, speaking, consulting, it's a busy lifestyle that I really, really enjoy. Yeah, I just hope that through this podcast and through my blogs and the book, I'm able to help a lot of businesses and help a lot of people, help a lot of marketers. And together we grow.
That's nice. It was great talking to you. I hope you had a great time on the social media marvels as well.
Thank you very, very much. I had a blast.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Neal.
All right. Take care.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.